For me and my friends, I wanted to make something that was fun. The idea was to create 3 origins, 3 classes that were super easy to manage, each with different gaming experiences. Now, in order to do a detection for daytime, all you would need is a solar panel. I like to set up my solar panel to 4 lines of redstone so that when you do /time set sunset, the sun should, right as the sun is setting, the daylight sensor should barely deactivate. There you go. Each of these classes should run under a tag. And if you don't know, a tag in Minecraft is an identifier. When you type in /tag, you can add it to an entity or a player. So in my case, I can give myself the tag of being undead. And by having that tag, I would then classify as whatever I want the tag to do. Now, the reason for adding a tag command is you can actually test for these. So in the case of this solar panel, what I could do is this. What I've done here is I've set up a command that will, every 4 to 5 ticks, affect anyone with the tag equal to open with wither. Now, the reason I'm saying tag is equal to open is just because it is daytime doesn't mean that anyone who is undead should always be burning. In order to counteract this, what I want to do is actually do a detection command that tests for air blocks above them. All right, so what I've done here is I'm executing around a player who identifies as dead, and I'm detecting for the air block that they start on to be air. Now, I follow up that command with another execute command because every detect command needs another command afterwards. So what you can do is you can link execute commands and detect commands as such. By doing so, I can create a chain of commands detecting for air blocks. Now, I do set an identifier as tag equals dead, C equals 1, radius equals 0. What C equals 1 means is that is the closest player to the previous identifier. So in this case, this player at A, which is player, the closest player to them, which would be themselves. But just in case, I also put an identifier as radius equals 0, meaning that they have to be the exact same entity. And of course, with the extra identifier of tag equals dead, just in case. And after doing that, I do a detect with 1 block up. The reason why I do the commands like this and make them so compact is that I don't want to have to set any scores or specific commands dedicated to a specific player name. By doing this, this can be universal for anyone with the tag equal to dead. So you can have as many players as you want on, and all of them getting the same exact treatment without you having to modify your commands. So in order to keep this up, I'm going to have this go for, let's say, maybe 10 blocks for now. I don't need to do anything too excessive. And to finish it off, I'm going to do another execute command and then do a tag command. Now, the reason why I'm calling this open 1 is that normally in a Minecraft world, especially with the new cave update, 10 blocks is nowhere near enough. You can be in a cave that's easily 10 blocks high, and if it's daytime, you'll start burning, which isn't what you want to accomplish. What you want is to make it to where when you're actually on the surface with so amount of blocks above your head that you'll burn. So in order to counteract this, what I have gone about doing is taking these commands and chaining them. So I will take a command that goes, say, 30 blocks up, and I'll chain it to another block that goes another 30 blocks up. And then what I'll do is I'll link those with another scoreboard detection. And after doing that, you can link all of them through one command block and apply that to the player. Once you have the 2 commands detecting for their various versions, you can see here that if you have these, it will give you the tag of open 2 and open 1. But the problem with this command is that this will only affect you with the tag of open. You can't choose 2 tags because the way these commands work is that you can only have 1 tag identifier. So you have to link the tags up in order to do so. But you also have to make sure that if someone is no longer in day, they will no longer have the tag. I think the best way to do that would just be to write a command that gets rid of the tag. So you just execute at A tag equals dead. But with this command, what I would do is I would set a tick delay to it. So for this one, I'm going to set a tick delay of 1 tick. And what will that do is since these command blocks do not have tick delays, they will run slightly faster than this command block, which means these ones will always be true over this one. There you go. I think that just about works. There's only one way to test this. Okay. So I do not have the tag. And what we'll do here is we'll reset this. Perfect. Now, in order to do this one properly, what we would do is say execute @e tag equals. So I made a mistake. I plan on using these commands for every player at like every identifier. If you're doing this only for the dead class, then this would be just fine. But since I want to do this for every identifier, for every origin that I'm making, I would actually get rid of the tag and just run it as an @a and then the c equals 1, radius equals 1 for the following up commands. So let me get rid of those real quick. And there you go. First one's done. There you go. I fixed my mistake. So now these commands should run for all players, not just dead players. Okay, and then we would run a command for execute @a tag equals dead. Or no. Sorry. Okay, now we would run a command for all players with their tag equal to open 1. And then we would tag those players with the tag of open 2, and we would add open to them, just like so. And we repeat this, like this. So a player that has tag equals open 1 and tag equals open 2 will have tag of open. And if that player has a tag of open, then this command should run. Another thing I forgot to point out is that for every one of these commands, I put an @e tag equals overworld. The reason why I put that in is that I do not want these commands running in any other dimension other than the overworld. And in order to register for that, I would set up an armor stand. That armor stand registers for players in a radius minimum equal to 0. That is the opposite of a normal radius command. What that means is that if a player is at least within 0 blocks, at least, they can be farther away, but as long as they're within 0 blocks. And what that command does is detect for them to be within the same dimension. And what I would do is apply these to every one of these commands. All right, and then in order to set up the armor stand, you just do /tag @e c equals 1, radius, I'll set it to 3, type has to equal armor stand, add overworld. And what this command is saying is that any entity within 3 blocks of me that is an armor stand, that is the closest armor stand, will get this tag, which is the one I'm on top of course. Do that, and now you can see the command running. And what's happening here is the commands that have no tick delay are continuously running, but the tags that are set to remove them are also running. And so now you can kind of see that it's working. You can also see that I have the withering effect. So now if I set my game mode to S, you'll see that I actually have that withering effect, but it's not actually dealing any damage right now. So that's something I need to modify. Does 5 ticks do damage? It does not. Maybe if I give myself withering 2. Yep, it's working. There we go. I don't want to, sorry. Okay, I want to give it to myself for 1 second because I don't want it to last too long. But as you can see, since I set it to a greater value, it does deal attack damage. So for withering for 1 second at a value of 2, because whenever you give yourself a potion effect, if you give yourself 0, that is the effect of 1. And if you give yourself 1, it is the effect of 2, and so on. So it's always plus 1 for this value right here. Now, if you do get tired of the thing on the side of your screen, you can type in a simple command. You can type in the command game rule send command feedback false and follow that up with slash game rule command block output false. And there you go, they will stop. And so it is registering, it is working. Now, the only thing that I need to now counteract is the tag of having open, because the tag of open is not going away. So I can do a command that says tag at a remove open. And I would set that to 5 ticks. And so what should happen here is if I do slash game mode S, I should still take damage. Yeah, I'm still taking damage, which is good. But it's also showing that this command should go away. So if I do tab, you can see that the withering effect is kind of going away. So let me grab a building block so that I can test the actual, this part of it. Okay, so look at this. If I do game mode S, you see how under this block I'm completely fine. But as soon as I go in daylight, it affects me. That is very slow. But as you can see, it does work. So it is that withering effect that is constantly affecting me. Now, you can always play around with the tick speeds if you want it to be slightly faster. Give yourself a slightly faster effective wither if you think it's too fast or too slow, depending on your preference. But it looks like this would be the minimum amount of wither that you would have to apply in order to actually take damage. I do not recommend using instant damage because instant damage deals about 4 hearts of damage per affecting second. And so it'll kill you very fast. It's almost an immediate death. I mean, if you want a real challenge, you can just do a slash kill instead. But to each their own. Now I'm going to increase the delay in ticks because I do want it to affect me slightly faster. There we go. So as you can see, because I increased the delay in ticks, if I get all the way over there, it'll affect me a lot faster. So yeah, it hits me a lot faster. So once again, just messing around with the tick speed and the actual potion effect will change the speeds. Now right now, this is at 3 blocks. Keep in mind that I made this to where it can go up to 15 blocks. So we can go up to here. So what is this? 4 blocks, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is the initial programming. Any block within that spot, it literally can be any block. As long as there is a block, it'll obstruct you. But if I do, this would be 12, 13, 14, 15. So 15 blocks right here. So you can see even this block protects me. But the moment I get 1 block higher than that, because I have not programmed this block value in, it should get rid of the effect. So let me do this. There you go. So as you can see, this block affects me. I think that maybe that's a 16 block then. This is 15th. But as you can see, this block still gets rid of it, but this one does not. So that's what I was talking about for the caves. Since caves are very big now, a big factor for this would be to add a chain of these commands in order to make sure that you don't burn while underground. So you can take commands that go up to maybe even 20 or 30 and link them through the same method that I did, which is by taking their original, so execute at a tag equals open 1, then adding the other tag by running another execute command, and then run another execute command, and then finish it off with the last one as a tag. And keep in mind, for every one of these, you do need another command that gets rid of the effects. Now, only the final one is the one that really affects it. For the rest of them, you can use a delay tick of 1 to remove them. But for the final one, you have to use greater than 5 for it to actually affect you with wither. Now, another thing you can do, since this is the only class that I want to burn during day, I can set another command that's going to specify that it's at a tag equals dead. And then for the effect, we just do open radius equals 0 and C equals 1 as such. And so I still have the effect, as you can see, but if I do /tag remove dead, you'll notice that it goes away. So anyone that does not have the tag of dead will not have that, but they will still register as open, which is what I want for the next part, which is the fire class. For the fire class, I want to register for when it rains and when they're in water. Okay, instead of using a daylight sensor, what you can do is set a command block to detect for fire. So for this one, I'm going to say test for block, above it 2 blocks to be fire. And I'm going to set it to a delay tick of 5. Then on top, I'm going to set a command block. Actually, hold on, wait. No, we want this one to be 0, and we want this one to be 5. Set block as fire. Always active. You notice that this is fire. And so if we take a comparator, add a repeater to it so that it has a greater charge, this should register for rain. So if I do /weather rain, you'll notice that the rain actually puts the fire out. The reason why I set it to a delay tick of 5 is that if you set it to a delay tick of 0, the fire will kind of go on and off. Well, as you can see right here, it causes this little issue. So if you set it to 5, it actually doesn't register at all, which is exactly what we want. And so what you would do is when it does rain, you would apply a redstone torch so that when it is raining, this signal is on. And when the signal is on, it will affect at a tag equals, or okay, actually instead what you can do is execute at a tag equals over world effect at a c equals 1 tag equals fire. And there we go. This is a duplicate of the other command. And so whenever a player has a tag of fire and has a tag of open, and it is raining, which this is what the rain detection is. So whenever it's raining, power will be applied to this command. And if they have a tag of open, as we have seen with the dead command, then this person will be affected with wither in the same way. So if I tag myself and add fire, should work. So now, instead of what we were doing before, I can do the same exact thing, but with rain. So slash weather rain. And as soon as it starts raining, as soon as the fire goes out, you should notice I get the withering effect. But as soon as I go under covered blocks, it goes away. And that's a little thing that you can do to detect for that. Now, the only issue with this command is that it's biased towards all rain. So if it's raining at all, regardless of the biome you're in, even if you're in a desert where it doesn't rain, if it is cloudy and you are in open area with no ceiling at all, you will start taking damage. So that is the one downfall of that command compared to the rest of them. Now, if you also want to program damage to be taken when they're in water, what you can do is say the water value of -1 means that any form of water, as long as there's not like another block in it, if it is flowing water, it still counts as water -1. And this should be about the same tick speed as the other commands, but you set it to always active. And so this one is detecting for the base block. In other words, this block to be water. Now I also want to detect for the ceiling block or the top block of the player to be water as well. So in order to do that, you would take the command and set the Y value in detect to 1. And by doing so, it should detect for both. So now if I grab some water, you'll notice that this should give me wither. But also, if I grab some water, and let me grab a block that will stop the water from going to the bottom block. There we go. So the water should now only be on the top block. As you can see, there is no water in that bottom block. So if I go in here, right, and swim up to that, you'll see that when in this block, I am affected with water, or with wither. Now we need to do the final class, which is the feather. Now for the feather class or the bird class, I would do the exact same thing for water. And in order to replicate that, I would just put another command block here with the bird ability, and then I would just set these two up again. So let me do that real quick. There you go. Now the bird class should be set up. And I just did a tag of bird for that. So now all of the class's weaknesses should be set up. Now for anything else you want to add to these classes, like if you want to add a specific effect, for example, the fire class, what I could do is I can say effect at a tag equals fire, add, or not add, fire resistance. And since I'm in the fire class, I now have permanent fire resistance. And then for the bone class, I can give them conduit effect. Now, of course, you can polish these classes up and say that conduit effect is kind of OP for the dead class, so you can always give the fire class a level of resistance or something to make them more balanced, but that is completely up to you. This is just the general detection for the weaknesses of these classes. So the only thing left is the actual ability to fly with the bird class. So if I /tag myself remove fire and then add bird, I should have the same weaknesses to water. So if I go back over here, there we go. Same weaknesses still. So the only thing different about the bird class is that it doesn't like fire and it doesn't like water. Now, I don't actually need to add anything for detection of fire because you normally take damage from fire. So for the bird class, what I would do is, first and foremost, I like to set a effective weakness because I like to make the bird class do less damage. And if you set a effective weakness 1, that means the bird class cannot deal attack damage unless it has a weapon. Its fist no longer deals attack damage. So I'll do that for this class. Just as such. Just a constant level of weakness. And if you want to increase that, you can. Now, the flying on the bird class is a little buggy. Now, if you're on Education Edition, you can do /ability may fly true and set it to where they can use creative version of flying. But the problem with that is that all the crafting recipes get messed up. So you can no longer craft iron blocks or gold blocks or really just any blocks, and progression becomes very painful. And especially since I'm programming this for progression of Minecraft, it is better to do other methods that don't involve Education Edition. In my case, I like to do a look detection. So I would always affect the bird class with feather falling. Or not feather falling, slow falling. As such, there we go, slow falling. So that they will never take fall damage. And if you want to give them speed or something, since they don't have actual flying, you can also do that too. So for the levitation effect, what I would do is execute at e tag equals overworld. Actually, no, not, you don't want to tag overworld because you want them to be able to fly regardless of the dimension. So you would just execute at a tag equals bird. And then what you would say is effect at a tag equals bird was an RXM equal to -80 or whatever value you want to set it to. So in my case, I might do 75 and then RX equal to 90. Oh, wait, let me get rid of the negative. Okay, so I did it backwards. I mean, it's where if you look down, you get the levitation effect. How I want to do this, though, is I want to make it to where the levitation effect is about equal to that of the slow falling, so it's pretty fast. I mean, you can make it a little faster, so I might set it to 3, honestly. Yeah, that seems good. And then instead of the RX value, I would set it to RXM, set this to RX, and then set them both to their negative alternatives. And what this is saying is 90 is the maximum height you can look at. 90 is directly up. Whereas this point right here is about 0, and then this is normal 90. So this is -90, this is 90. So you can pick how high you want them to look. Like, say you want to be able to just normally look, but if you look straight up, you can fly like this. And then as soon as you look away, you'll start falling. So it's completely up to you on how high you want to look up. For me, I like to keep it to almost level 50 because it gives you some range, maybe even 45 depending on the player. But this is more of a customization thing, so I can look about here. And as you can see, that's pretty much all there is to Origins for Bedrock Edition. It doesn't take a whole lot to work on them, and they're actually pretty simple. But it's all just detection commands, and all of these can be imported into any world. Also, if you want to avoid having to stick by the commands, you can run a command called /ticking area add circle and then at your current coordinates, and then I would set the radius to 4 chunks and then name it whatever you want. So in this case, I'm going to name it Origins. And what this is doing is in a 4 chunk radius around that, this part of the world will always run no matter how far I am away. So I can go completely out of render distance of those commands. And even all the way over here, they're still going to run. I can still look up and get the effect. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this helps someone. It wasn't. I mean, it's a very elaborate way to play Origins. You could just install a mod pack that someone else made, but if you want to put your own personalized touch on it and use something other than an add-on pack, then maybe this works for you.